Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Hal Bradley. I would like to ask each and every one of you that if you enjoyed these shows, please hit like, share, and subscribe after you view the show. Thank you very much.
Well, hello, world, and welcome to another episode of the Crisis Victory Show. I'm Dr. Hal Bradley, executive producer and host of the show, and boy, did I bring you an interesting guest for the show today. This guy, Bryan, here, has really been on a journey and back again, and then going on another journey to go back again. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you, Bryan, and let you take the show.
Dr. Bradley, thank you for letting me have the having me on the Crisis Victory Show. And yeah, I'd be happy to talk about crisis.
Yeah, from what Pete shared with me, that's absolutely remarkable. And good Lord, the only question I've got about it at this point is, are you going to proceed and try to go across the Atlantic again?
So let's give your listeners just like some background.
Yeah.
In 2011, I started rowing with a veteran team out of Boston here. And it's free through this small organization. And I was one of the first adopters to it. And one of the things that struck me was how it was like a revelation for me. It was like an epiphany in my life. I had this feeling when I got out of the military there was something wrong with me, and to be around all these other and as a veteran, I don't know if you're a veteran or not, but if you're not around other veterans, you sometimes can be very isolated, especially in like Boston or something like that. There's not a lot of veterans here. Like, I guess if you were in Texas or Georgia, maybe there'd be more, but there's just not a lot of veterans around. And so if in like whatever field I was in, I was an accountant. There just wasn't a lot of us around to talk to. So I was finally thrust into an environment where I was around all these veterans. And it was such a great program. I was like, well, I really want to do something where I can expound upon this program, bring in some press, because it was just so great for me. And so in 2012, I joined a team to try to set the world record for crossing the Atlantic Ocean in a small boat. We rowed from Spain to Barbados. I think we left. Yeah, we left February, the end of February, got back in March. The whole thing took about 34 days. We didn't break the record, even though we had the record. We were leading the record for about 15 days, and then we just ran into a terrible patch of weather. And we got way behind, and then just farther and farther behind. And so we missed the record by 2 days. So we finished in 34 days, which was very fast, the third fastest time ever. And I became the fastest American to ever row across a body of water like that. It subsequently changed my life. I gave up a career as an accountant, and I opened up an indoor rowing studio. This is my little office right here. I opened up an indoor rowing studio in Boston, or Brighton, or Brookline rather. We've been going strong for about 8 years. It's called Power Rowing. And
is this sponsored, Bryan? Is this sponsored by the VA?
No. Yeah.
It's a private organization.
My organization is private. Yeah, I own it.
Yeah. Well, to answer a question you brought up earlier, yes, I am a veteran. So is Pete. As you well know, we've served. I was in from 1971. Oh, that's amazing. I didn't know that part, Pete. Anyway, I was in from 71 to 74. Later in life, became a contractor. I was captured on foreign soil in an undisclosed nation. Captured. I was rescued after 7 months of captivity. And so I'm a PTSD patient. And back in 2003, there were 7 of us at the Seattle VA hospital that had been former prisoners of war, captured in the service of our country on foreign soil. And last November before last, Captain Robert took his life, and I'm the last of the 7 of us. So when you talk about veteran loneliness, brother, I get it. I don't have my brothers anymore that I can relay my extreme PTSD circumstances. You know, when you wake up in the middle of the night and you're back in that fucking jungle, you know, it's really, really hard to get out of it. But Pete Turner is also a man who's operated out of the wire like you. And he has an understanding. He deals with this PTSD. So now, by the grace of God, I do have another brother that I can kind of download to in those hard moments. I almost committed suicide a year ago myself. I just couldn't wake up in that jungle another day. And it was really a struggle for me. But where you got into the rowing and developing that, I'm in my 21st year of working in the homeless community with veterans that are homeless. I love my brothers and sisters that serve. You are my brother. You are my family, and forever will be, because we took the same oath, the three of us here. And it means something to people like us. But anyway, that being said, I just wanted to answer your question real quickly. I am a veteran. I was Army Airborne. And like I said, served from 71 to 74. Airborne all the way, brother. Hey, you know what? They don't even have 0 week anymore. They just have ground week, tower week, and jump week now at Benning. How the hell did they drop down 0 week? Yeah.
I have no idea. I went through it in let's see, it would have been 1998.
I did it in 72.
When I went through, they had all the champagne glasses from the original group that went through, and there was only two, maybe 3 champagne glasses that were still upright because all the others had passed.
Yeah.
I imagine they're all obviously gone now. This has been 20, 25, 30 years now.
Well, so, brother, we're still here representing them, brother. We're here.
We probably jumped out of some of the swimming. I did C-130s. You probably had C-130s.
Yeah, C-130s, 141s, C-119s. I've done my helicopter blasts. I've done all of that. Yeah,
the helicopter one. The helicopter one's the easiest one, though. You just have to step out of it.
Yeah, I liked it.
I thought we did the not to get sidetracked, but we did the was it 141, and they had like a jet wash that came down the side of the plane. Boy, if you didn't leap out. That
was the 141. You're exactly right. Yeah, the C-119 and the C-130, piece of cake. But that 141, that spun my chute around. I went out wrong, and I remember having tangled riser straps. And by the time I hit the ground, by the time I hit the ground, I was good to go. But boy, oh boy, I tell you, it was quite a jump. I only did.
I even jumped from a C5, and that was a piece of cake because the jets are way out here. As you step out, and it's a huge plane. I mean, it's enormous. But yeah, the one C-130 was fine, but the 141 was no good. And then the Chinook was just a piece of cake.
I like the Chinook too.
Yeah, he's just king. It's super easy. So anyway, so I did this row back then. We raised some money for veterans for this program, and then I got the itch again about 4 years ago. I bought a used boat from a nice gentleman. And re-equipped it, reset it up, built up a team, and then we launched June 1st in 2024. Immediately started to have some issues. So around day 3, the water system started to act funny, and then we started to get more and more briny. And then on day 4, the electrical system turned off, and so we were about 200 miles offshore of Cape Cod, and we had some pretty heavy swells. It was supposed to be 2 to 3 foot swells. They're more like 5 to 7, and by the time we got picked up, they were like 8 to 10. And so the swells are so strong, you can't really row against it. You can go with it, totally go with it. The swells are great if you're going in the right direction. They give you a ton of power, but if you're trying to go against it, it's no good. And so we had set up what's called an ocean anchor. An ocean anchor, we probably could use a real anchor because we're only about 50 feet of water. But an ocean anchor is like ironically, a big parachute. And what it does is it flattens the boat out. Instead of the boat riding up and down these swells, it kind of just does this a little bit. Just kind of, if you're listening to the program, think of like big, huge waves. They flatten them out to the smaller waves. Makes it very manageable. But you can't, obviously, with a big parachute in the back of the on the boat, you can't really row anywhere. So we were stuck about 200 miles offshore, and we were right about at like the kind of the point of no return for the Coast Guard to come get us, because there's a certain distance where the helicopters can come out, and otherwise they would have to send a cutter, and the crew wasn't digging it, and because we lost the electronics, they have a thing on a boat called AIS, and I can't for the life of me tell you what it stands for, but essentially what AIS does is it tells other boats that you're there and how to avoid you. So if you're in a boat and you're driving along, it will say beep, beep, beep. Our boat was called the Nimbus. It will say the Nimbus is off your port side, 1,000 meters. And so like if it's fog or like whatever, you won't run into each other with this AIS. So our AIS system had shut down, and we didn't have a way of seeing anybody coming at us, and nobody could see us. Now, the chance of being hit is real small, real small, but it's not nothing. And I told the crew, I said, look, I don't feel comfortable leaving out here like this. I said, I will have the Coast Guard come get us. If we do that, there's a real good chance I'm going to lose the boat. And the boat is no small investment. It's about $150,000. Wow. But with the AIS system shut off, you can't find the boat. So they said, yeah, we want to get off. And so we because the water system had gone and the electrical system was down. It was just, it was one thing if we were, 20 days at sea and halfway across, we would figure it out. But like, there's no good way of dealing with this. So like I said, I called the Coast Guard, and they came and grabbed us.
Thank God.
Yeah, no, honestly, what a professional organization.
Real is real. It's life. Saving life and keeping life is priceless, especially as veterans. We understand that even more so. But yeah, you did the right thing. You made the right call. And like you said, if you would have been at the point of no return, then they couldn't have come out to you on a helicopter evac, and that changes the whole ball game dramatically. Good call, brother. Yeah.
Well, the crew has to come first, the boat second. Luckily, a fisherman heard about our story because Cape Cod is not a big place. Everybody knows everybody. And all heard about this crew going across the Atlantic, and the boat was lost. And this guy's just not a commercial fisherman, just a regular fisherman. He actually saw the boat, went up to it and said he didn't know what was going on, left it. And then he called the Coast Guard. They called me, and then I called him, and we get in contact. He says, I think I know where it is. And I said, I'll pay you to come get it. And he just had a big walk around, the ones with the little kind of island in the middle of the boat. Not a huge boat. And my boat's not that small either. It's 28 foot. So he said, I'll go out and look for it. And he said, I'll tell you what, if I find it, you pay me. If you don't find it, you just give me gas money or something like that. And I said, okay. So he went out there and he called me up. He said, I've been looking for 4 hours. I can't find it. I'm running out of gas. I got to head back. And I said, I was kind of brokenhearted because it had been gone for 2.5 months already. And it's been slowly floating out farther and farther away. And some of the fishermen, around the Georges Banks and whatever, get out pretty far. They get out 400 or 500 miles, some of them. Not this particular guy, but the boat was still only about 230 miles out or so. It had been making little circles like this, but the circles kept getting farther and farther away. And he said he was looking in the water. He was kind of dismayed, and he noticed everything was floating in a certain direction. And he just pointed his boat where everything was floating, and he sort of kind of headed in that way, ran right into it. And,
how lucky.
And he tied it up on his boat, pulled it in, and he said as he pulled into the marina, he ran out of gas. And
That's amazing.
He literally just floated to the dock and jumped off and tied himself up and then pulled my boat in manually, just on the rope.
Boy, he had a great story.
He had a really good story. So that was great. I had the whole boat overhauled again, all cleaned up. I have most of a new crew now. I'm still looking for like one person. And the whole thing came down to, this is just so insane. So when I originally bought the boat from this gentleman named Tim. I had the whole electrical system redone, and I spent about $30,000 on it. And I don't know a whole lot about electrical systems, but I tried to learn as much as I could along the way. And what they did is that all the wires kind of came together in sort of a motherboard, and the middle of the motherboard is like a peg, and all the wires kind of clip around this one peg, and then they screw a fastener in on the other side of it. And what these guys did, and like this was a very fancy place doing huge yachts and stuff, and what they did was they put the fastener on just a screw. They never put a lock nut, and it slowly unscrewed itself, and the wires sort of came apart. But when you open up the panel and check the wires with your meter, everything's fine.
Right. Yeah.
Everything was right. It's just the screw had come a little undone, so the thing would blink on and off, and just shut off. And I got the boat back in, and we hired another electrician, and he came by, and he turned it ever so slightly, like this broke. The whole thing came back on. I was like, oh.
Unbelievable.
Just killing me. So, yeah, and it's really heartbreaking because like the 3 crew members that signed on with me, they all agreed when we got rescued. Like that was it. That was they made a big deposit, like $20,000 plus expenses, so $25,000. And I told them, I said, look, you can row with me again if we do it again. And I offered it to them, they all turned me down. But like,
they had crossed their Rubicon.
They didn't cross Rubicon. Like, so it was very heartbreaking for me, and it's heartbreaking for them. And like, I want to do something for them, but like, it's like, and so I got the boat back, and and anybody that owns a boat knows it's just a hole in the ocean where you throw money. And I've put another $40,000 or $50,000 into this boat to get it once again right. Trained with a bunch of new people over the course of the summer, and we plan to try again next May of 2026.
Good for you. That's exactly what the show is about, Brian. You know what? When we go through an incident or a crisis event, we pick ourselves up and we go back and we retry again. We don't give up. And that's exactly what when I was talking to Pete earlier about your interview today, that's exactly what he was so motivated about having you on my show, because you do have an amazing story to tell. I mean, you know, it's no small thing being over 200 miles off the shore and having those type of incidents occur, but having the wisdom to not go any further and having the fortitude to sit there and make a decision, which is disappointing. Like you said, if you'd have been out in the middle of the Atlantic, you guys would have figured out how to fix what needed to be fixed. But you know, you were at a point of no return. And that's evidentiary of a prior discipline being instated in you somewhere earlier in your life. In our case, the military. I don't know how old you were when you went in, brother. I was 2 weeks after I was 17 years old. I was in Fort Knox, Kentucky, and then I went to Tigerland and Fort Polk, Louisiana. Then I went to Fort Benning, Georgia, and then I went overseas. So we all have that little, but by that time, you have so much training and so much adaptability to unforeseen circumstances. And it's true, you know, that's when I got captured, we were captured and tortured daily during the time that I was in country. And I kept thinking back to Tigerland and Fort Polk, Louisiana, when I was a 17-year-old kid, going through my mock POW camp training, my escape and evasion training, all of those things that at that time did not seem that important. And here, 40 years later or 30 years later in life, I'm remembering those moments of training. And the biggest thing that stuck with me when I was captured was don't ever give them any information. And the reason you don't is because the moment you do, you are no longer of value to keep alive. And I remembered us being told that because we were training to go to war. You know, it's 1972. And it's so I kind of think, does that fit? Does that reflect in your decision making today from what you learned back then?
So one of the things that I learned through the military was, you know, these people were under my care.
Yes. Yes.
And that is paramount. So their safety had to come first. And like, when I say the boat costs $150,000, like that's more money than I could ever, I don't have that kind of cash. I mean, that's like savings and like people donating and sponsors and like, it goes on and on and on and on. All these little bits together. So like, that's an enormous amount of money for me. and then to say it's gone. There's no insurance company saying we're going to pay for that. There's no, you know, it would just be gone, and I'd just be setting fire to it, and that's it. But like, you have to have the maturity before you ever attempt something like this to say it's a tough decision that could be made, and I've got to live with it. And that the tough decision was there. I didn't want to put these people's lives at danger, any more danger than they're already in, and my financial, you know, loss had no factor in it. So it worked out. Luckily, we got the boat back. I was able to rehab it. We're ready to go again. But like, yeah, I mean, that's honestly luck. I know several boats that have been lost, and they're finding,
of course,
years later in like Africa or like South America. There's actually a boat in the Florida Keys that my friends lost, and it's at a bar, and the boat's just sitting on it's just like a prop
that's hilarious.
Rolled up on the ocean one day, and they dragged it in and like stuck it on this thing, and you could look it up. I can't remember the name of the bar or the boat, but he sent me the thing for that. And I was like, oh my god! And he's like, it has no value at this point.
Yeah, that's priceless. So the story is great.
Right. So I mean, like, I'm sure they would get free drinks there. I'd be like, by the way, that was mine. I think. I want to say that was the Sarah G, but I'm not 100% sure. Anyway, but yeah, that's just life. That's life. And dealing with crises, you know, it's all fundamentally about who you are. And
well, you know what, brother. One of the major points that you hit on that really impressed the hell out of me was the thought of those that are your comrades in arms that are with you in the moment and about their safety issues. I don't know if Pete's told you anything about me at all, who I am.
No,
I don't know.
Not another word.
Well, let me give you about a 2-minute synopsis. I used to be I was an international smuggler for the Sinaloa drug cartel. Spent 15 years of my life operational with them before I finally ended up in a situation of no breakaway with the cartel. Went to Culiacan. I was a Pacific Northwest distributor, the largest one in the history of this part of the world. Had made my fortune, was done with all of that world, went down to Culiacan to see my childhood friends. And I grew up with people like El Chapo. I knew Ramon Arellano Felix when he was 7 years old. These are friends of mine from my childhood years living down in the state of Durango. But the point is this. I hit a point of no return to get out of that world. And I knew I was either going to get whacked or I was going to get put away for life because of the level I was at. So I made a decision. I turned around a 350 kilo cocaine load. Following day, walked into the U.S. Attorney's office and said, I'm Hal Bradley. And they said, oh my God, the primary target of Operation Northern Exposure just walked into the U.S. Attorney's office. So we sat down. I was a mandatory life sentence guaranteed because of who I was, my status, and evidentiary support that could put me there. But they said, well, listen, if you're willing to go with us and go under with us and travel internationally and do what you can, we'll start knocking down that life sentence and we'll settle at some point after we're done with the work. So the reason I'm sharing that with you right now, Brian, is because I understand in that moment, especially in an undercover capacity, when you're in that moment, you do have a responsibility to the lives of the agents, the people that are in your immediate environment, because I was the shot caller during that time working with these teams. They can sit there and give you all the damned instruction they want, but they're not the one on the front line. You are. But you also have to remember that they're there in that background covering you. I mean, I've been in some very hairy situations. That's how I got captured. I was kidnapped by Mexican federal agents in Culiacan, rescued from that. That was a whole different story from when I was captured in a country that I'm not going to mention on the air today. But the bottom line is this: safety, thoughtfulness to the comrades that are in the outside the wire operational with you. It's tantamount. So when you said that, Brian, that really struck an important code to me because it tells me of your integrity. And I get that, and I respect you for it, because it isn't about the material things at that point. It's not about none of that. It's about getting your brothers out of there alive. And I admire you for it. So thank you for sharing that. That was interesting that you made that your priority in that moment of your crisis event. And I'm really happy to hear how you intend to go back and try it again. I think that's amazing. That's what victors do. You know, we learn from our mistakes. We learn from our survival, and then we take that knowledge and that wisdom and that adrenaline rush, if you will, and that carries us through to the next phase of our lifelong journey.
The transition has been
I get it. And another thing is you're doing it in service of veterans. Are these people like us, like Pete and I, we're both PTSD patients with the
100%.
VA?
100%. So I'm working with an organization, and I'll give them a plug right here. They're called Home Base. Home Base. They're located in Boston here, sponsored by John Henry of the Red Sox. Hence Home Base. And they work with veterans with traumatic brain injury, PTSD, in ways to help them come back. And
beautiful.
They're a phenomenal organization. I would love to raise them a ton of money. I told them whatever I raise, they can have. Whenever anybody wants to donate, they can donate right to them. Terrific organization.
Pete's got them up. Pete's got them up on the board here.
Okay, great. Home Base.
Yeah. Thank you, Pete.
I can't recommend. Like I said, the stuff they do with soldiers is phenomenal. And they're actually, they've done so much and so well with it that they've actually expanded their locations to across America. And
good.
No, they're really a phenomenal organization.
I'm really glad to hear that. I'm really glad that Pete posted the contact information. We do have a lot of veterans that follow the show here. We have a lot of veterans in our hearts and our communities that we stay connected to. And there's so many of us struggling right now that are out there. It's in 21 years I've worked the streets here. It's my way of saying I'm sorry for my past and my payback. I did a total of 17 years undercover after I was recruited out of Leavenworth Federal Prison and became a contractor for the Department of Justice.
Good
And paying back isn't saying I'm sorry. Paying back is setting the example at the risk of your life. And then it means something not only to the people that are judgmental of you, but it means something to yourself because you knew that you did all you could do. And I am sorry for my past. And that's 30 years ago now, Brian, but I still carry the flag in my heart. I still carry that torch of what I did to people, what we did to people. Yeah, but well, thank you. But I thank you specifically because you're motivated to serving veterans that need to be served in our communities today. And what you're doing is phenomenal. That's a life-changing experience for a veteran to be able to get together with a group of brothers and create a memory as challenging as what you're talking about doing. My God, that's no small feat. London, really?
So the toughest part is the mental part. It's not a physically very difficult thing to do. I mean, there's a physical aspect to it for sure, but it's the mental part of like, I'm going to row for 2 hours, rest, row for 2 hours, rest, row for 2 hours, rest. And like,
it's a discipline.
It's a discipline to it. And there's like, you have to be in a certain mindset. It's not for everybody. You can really get in your head out there because it's so quiet. You can go days without talking to anybody. And like I said, I have a 28-foot boat. I'm holding my arms out like this. But it's only about 5 feet wide.
Yeah.
And there's a tiny little cabin on each end. So you're either in the cabin or you're in your seat. So the really funny thing about it, even though it's 28 foot long, I only get 14 feet of it. And I share with one other person. We just swap back and forth at 14 feet. So whatever prison cell you're in America is probably bigger than what I will be in. And,
been there, done that, brother.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, I'd like to mention that Pete just put powerrowing.com up on the air to all of the viewers and people listening. Pete, thank you so much for staying on top of that, brother. That's wonderful. Yeah, because I'm going to read that myself when we get off air. I want to see your site.
That's a site pretty much about.
There's another one you just put in.
Yeah, London Calling Row is the actual row across the Atlantic. We can see our sponsors. You can see the boat. You can see like pictures of the stuff we've done, and like, yeah, it's quite a bit of stuff.
Yeah,
there.
I was going to ask you, are you going to post the journey?
Oh yeah. So when I redid the electrical system, I actually put a Starlink on board.
Oh,
so
perfect.
We can do live feed from the ocean. And
that's perfect.
If you like, at some point during our row next June, July, give me a buzz, shoot me a text, and I'll be like, hey, we'll do a quick 5-minute interview from the ocean. And
I'd love that. Pete, remember that, brother?
I think Pete will remember that. He's pretty good with these kind of things.
Yeah, Pete's really good at keeping on this.
He's good. And so we'll be able to do live interviews from the water, which is something I wanted to do, which is not too many other boats. Actually, none of the boats that I'm aware of have ever been able to do that.
I've never seen one. Never seen an interview done like that. That would be a challenge for the show, and I welcome it. Absolutely.
So that's where we spent all the big ones. Well, anyway, but you'll be able to follow us on our journey. We'll do like an assortment of like, day 5, it's time to eat an MRE. And there's dolphins and then whales and there's bad weather and like, but mostly, like I said, rowing across the ocean is dealing with the monotony of it. Is actually just dealing with like, like every 2 hours, maybe at night, maybe every 3 hours. You can't really talk to a lot of people because the only person I can talk to is in front of me, and they can't talk back to me because it's so loud on the ocean. Just waves and stuff hitting the boat. You're almost screaming at each other, and then the other 2 people are trying to sleep in their cabin, so us screaming at each other is not great.
How many do you take? How many do you take as an active crew when you do this?
There's gonna be 4 of us, so 2 in the front, 2 in the back. So 2 row, 2 sleep, 2 row, 2 sleep. Okay. And we have shorter shifts during the day, longer shifts at night, so you get actually a little bit of sack time. Yeah. But it's a monumental experience.
I think the biggest challenge to me, Brian, would be getting in your head a lot, because when you're talking about monotony, I can remember laying up in hotel rooms waiting for my people to show up at the load for days and just going absolutely inside of my own mind with that. And it's a similar circumstance when you're operating outside of the wire too. Things start taking on a different shape, a different form, a different play in your thinking process. Out there in the water, I can only imagine the intensity and the magnitude of that type of thing that you have to struggle with and kind of fight at times. I'm sure you get in your head, bro.
Yeah, I mean, you absolutely do. So if you can manage that part of it, after about 5, 6, 8 days, it becomes okay. And then all of a sudden you take a step back and go, wow, what a sunset. Wow, look at these stars. Wow, look at the sunrise. Or like, look at all this life around me. And like, it's a wake up to your system. You just can't believe it because, most of us, and I don't want to speak for anybody in general, but most of us live in a grind. And, like, what I'm doing today, I did yesterday, did the day before, did last week. And like, you get like a tunnel vision. And like, when you're out in the middle of the Atlantic, all that goes away. The only thing you've got to focus on is just keeping yourself safe and just doing your job. And,
Brian, one thing I've always wondered about being that far out in the ocean like that, are the stars really brighter?
Oh my God, you can't. I remember the first day I went in to the cabin. We actually did 4-hour shifts when we did it at night. And I went in just before nightfall. And so when I got up, it was like 2 in the morning. And I came out and I was like, oh, I just couldn't. I just was like, and the captain yelled at me, hey, come on, it's your shift. Let's go. And I just spent the first 15 minutes just not being able to really row because like it is dazzling. I mean, and I've been up in the mountains and I've been like all kinds of places, but like I've never seen anything like that. And
I've heard this before. That's why I asked you that question. I've heard that is absolutely mesmerizing when you're out there in the middle of nowhere and you're a few thousand miles away from anything, and all you have is that beautiful relationship with that sky above you. That's remarkable.
We have a tiny little LED in the front that tells us where we are and how many miles we left, and that's about it. And like everything else is just brilliant. And like you can actually see the sun set into the ocean You know, and you could see the moon come up, and like
I can't even imagine. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, no, it's like yeah, you describe it, you use words, and then you're like, oh, it's just words that don't cut it. They just don't cut it. And then when you finally, I remember on day 31, we finally saw Barbados. Like you only see land like when it's like 10 hours away, maybe not even 5 hours away.
Oh,
so we saw, like really, Barbados is pretty tall. We rolled up on it, and I was like, oh my God, there it is. We could see it. And then we had to row around it to get to the other side, because one side's all rocks and one side's beaches. And when you pull up to the dock, it's I can only relate that it could possibly be like when you were freed, when someone rescued you, and like you're like in disbelief, like I did it, I made it through to the other side, like, and like you just,
I know that feeling. I do.
And like, and it's almost a feeling that you like long for. Yeah. Because it's so emotional. Yeah. And like you just can't believe it. So that's one of the driving factors. I want to feel that again. I want to go through that again. The first time I did, I couldn't even appreciate, like, you know, how we did it. But yeah, it's one of the best things in your life. And then
you know, I remember when I got loaded in the chopper after our rescue, they threw me in there, and they had med personnel in the chopper, and they were working on me, and they were trying to calm me down and talking to me and rubbing my shoulder and telling me you're going to be okay. And all I could do was cry. I couldn't even speak. I was so emotionally entangled in that moment. Yeah. And what you just described there put goosebumps to me, because I know when you saw land, you saw a sight after so many days of not having that moment, something changes, something transitions in us, because it's not only an environmental change, it becomes a holistic change, if you will. You know you're going to be okay. You know that you're going to get through this. You know that there's success in the journey. You know that there's so many things that flood into our mind in those kind of moments. Anyway, Bryan, we're getting ready to wrap up the show. So before I close the show, I do want to remind you that when we get off air, hang tight and stay on air for a few minutes. We'll talk offsite here. But what message do you want to leave today with the people that are in our audience that are going to be hearing your story?
I would say the message I would have to say is life is so short. It is so brutally short. And
yes,
try to experience it as much as you can. And there's going to be challenges, and the challenges are going to be hard. There's no denying it, but like the rewards are, your life has more meaning. And the challenges are really hard. Life's going to have more meaning, and to just, you know, do something for yourself that's like, that you can look back on and say, I feel really good that I did this, and I feel I feel like I did something that mattered, and yeah. So I think
that's a perfect message, Bryan. And listen, I want to thank you for being on my show, and God bless you. Good speed ahead on your project. Looking forward to being able to plug in with you when you're out on the water, my brother. And another closing statement I want to make to you is, sir, thank you for your service to our nation.
Thank you for your service as well. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, folks. Well, that wraps up another episode today. And I'd like to take this moment to thank each and every one of you for taking your time to catch our show. Now, if you like these shows, I would ask that you would please hit like, share, and subscribe. It's so important to us that we get these messages out, and we understand that these are graphic, almost toxic interviews. But, you know, this is the kind of impact that we feel is needed in order to make sure that people understand the significance of the problems that we are confronted within our own country and around the globe. So I'm going to say at this time that I love you all. God bless you all. Hasta luego, y vaya con Dios, and go Victors.